Welcome everyone, this is Yvonne Davis and David Steele. We're accredited facilitators with the Rocky Mountain Compassionate Communication Network, and this is Unleash Your Creativity, a blending of The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron and Nonviolent Communication by Marshall Rosenberg. So now we're starting week 11, and that is recovering a sense of autonomy. So I was reading the beginning of this week 11 chapter, and she talks about acceptance, and basically what she's saying is we as artists, first of all, need to accept that we may be a little different than other people. And I think that is absolutely true. Like, for example, the idea of working a 9-to-5 job that is actually not possible for me, literally not possible for me. I'm not even joking about that. I can manage for maybe a couple months, I don't know, maybe 2.5 months max, and then that's about it for me. Fortunately, I do temp work, so about the time that I feel like I'm ready, I don't want to be melodramatic, but basically the way I put it is when I get to the point where I'm about to shoot myself in the head, fortunately the job is ending. Yeah. So
I'm not melodramatic.
Yeah, I just have to accept that about myself. I'm a hunter. This is a new way of looking at the evolutionary benefits of what is called ADD, and it's this idea that there are hunters and there are farmers. Hunters are people who like to be involved in projects, short-term projects, that may have a high risk factor, whereas people who are farmers are the ones who like predictability. They like stability, predictability. They like to do the same thing over and over and over and over again every single day. And these are two very different kinds of people. Farmers cannot stand change. It causes an unpredictability. It just causes way too much anxiety for them. They can't stand it. Whereas hunters are the opposite. They cannot stand things to be the same every single day. They absolutely need novelty for their very survival. And they need challenge. So they tend to be, much more creative, but also more willing to take risks. So that's definitely true of me. That doesn't mean that life gets easy just because you're a hunter. It's not easy to deal with a lot of unpredictability. It's just that it's easier for me to do that than to go and do the same thing every day. So I feel like I'm gonna shoot myself in the head. So yeah, I've just accepted that I am different. That's who I am, and that's what I need in life. So that's the beginning of week 11. Did you want to add anything to that?
Yes.
Okay.
I'd love to add something to that.
Okay. And we can trust God. That's what she says. Trust God and trust the work. Oh, and also don't judge the work on whether or not people pay money for it, because there is a kind of value and worth that has nothing to do with money. So if you need to do your creative work, do your creative work. It's not, the whole thing about tying it up with money is it's almost criminal, it really is. It's sad. So sad. There's so much creativity in the world that is just aching to be contributed. And yet we live in a world where a lot of incompetent people are running the world. I don't want to say they're all incompetent. They're not all incompetent, but a lot of incompetent people are running the world. Whereas there are lots of competent people who have so much creativity to offer, but they have to pay the rent or something. I don't know. It saddens me. I know that like a sadness is coming over me.
Yeah, I'm connecting with the sadness because your words kind of lost their focus. So just be with that sadness for a moment. And just listen while I talk for a second, okay? So Julie Cameron calls this gaining a sense of autonomy. And autonomy is all about not being captive to the herd. There's tremendous pressure, and it's built into our limbic system in our body because we want to belong. Really, probably more than anything else, we want to belong. We want accompaniment. We want to know that our presence matters. So the pressure to be part of the herd, to be part of the tribe, is mammoth. And when we gain autonomy, then that's like Henry David Thoreau saying that, I dance to the rhythm of a different drummer, and I'm going to honor that rhythm. And I am going to do what's in me to do rather than what the social structure tells me I should be doing. It takes a lot of courage to do that. And we have kind of mythologized that energy with the likes of John Wayne, the rugged individualist, and the person who fights the corporation and wins. And that, to me, is not what I'm talking about. Because autonomy and self-reliance and autonomy go together, is not necessarily overcoming the herd. It's finding the courage to be present to your own humanity, to your own calling. So it doesn't, being autonomous does not lecture, does not go around fixing. Being autonomous goes around expressing and having that expression come with the spirit within you rather than your guess at what the world would like to see you do, and I want to be accepted, so I better figure out how to give the world what it wants so that it likes me. So that is very, very scary, and there's huge pressure in our world to conform. We get it from our parents, we get it from our peers, we get it in the media all the time. Be part of the herd, be part of the clan. And then when people there are some people, there's all this pressure until all of a sudden you become visible in a way where people go, oh, wow, you overcame all of that pressure and you did your own thing. You're just eccentric. You're not crazy anymore. You're eccentric now. And we will revere that, and we will worship that and everything. And then you got the clan revering and worshiping you. And you're going, yeah, I'm just the me that I've always been. You're the ones that have changed. But I don't know why I went down that path. But anyway, we do have a high regard for people who are true to their beliefs and are willing to go down in flames for what they stand for, and eventually and often end up in persevering. And eventually the world comes and worships at their feet. That's another dynamic that happens all the time. So for those of us who don't fit the mechanistic, organized structure, we have to develop a secure sense of self, or it is a very oppressive place to be. And if we have a secure sense of self, and when we get that internal locus of control, then it's a joyful place to be. That there's a tremendous amount of authenticity, courage, and perseverance involved with that, which is why Julie saved it for 11, because we're getting down to the real core about creating out of your own spirit, making your life an artistic expression of your soul, or whatever you want to call it, rather than a reaction to, or being a chameleon to fit in with the environment around you. And I think it was in the Divine Comedy in Paradiso, where Dante, towards about 2/3 of the way through it, and this is where he's going up Mount Purgatory, and he says, well, one day I woke up and I became a majority of one. And from that point forward, his actions were coming out of his own connection with divinity, his own inspiration, rather than trying to go with the majority prevailing pressures. So I'm feeling kind of talked out.
Okay.
How's the sadness doing?
Well, I was remembering the story about Buckminster Fuller when he was at a very difficult and painful time in his life, and he walked to the edge of the lake and he was contemplating suicide, and he made a decision that instead of committing suicide, he would devote himself to service and contribution, and he would stop worrying about how the world was going to meet his needs for him, and just trust that it would all work out okay. So he stuck with that commitment. He really devoted his life to service, and his needs were always met somehow. Not always in a direct one-to-one relationship. Sometimes it would come out of the blue from someplace completely different that he never expected. But his needs were always met. And I think it takes a tremendous amount of trust to be able to live that way. But I think I think Julie Cameron is really sharing with us a completely different paradigm for existing in the world. And we don't, like a lot of times if we go through this program, we don't necessarily see how deep it is. We just scrape the surface. And we still have profound transformation. But if we could really, truly surrender to that divine creative force and trust that if we give into it, it will meet our needs. And even as I speak those words, I still ask myself, can you really do it? I don't know. It's pretty scary. Well, do you have anything else to add before we close?
I sure am fond of you. I love doing these videos with you. That was authentic.
Thank you.
I have nothing more to say.
Okay. Alrighty, in that case, we will bring today's video to a close. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to this channel. Click like on the video, ring the bell for notifications, and add your comments below. And we will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.